I want to get into the Skip Bayless, Shannon Sharp thing. What are your thoughts on Shannon Sharp not showing up today?
I respect the hell out of the guy. I think that Shannon is making a statement, and I think that too often we're too hesitant to make it difficult on our employer when we need to make a statement. Like and I'm talking specifically about the entertainment, sports talk show industry or sector. Like it makes a statement when a man of color in Shannon doesn't show up to do his show after he's been showing up for however many years it is now, right? He doesn't show up very intentionally because he doesn't want to be seen on the same set as that joke of a person in Skip. That's proper. That is respectable. That is like, hey, dude, as someone who hosts a show every day, I completely get down with that concept, man. Like, if there was a reason for us not to do the show because we wanted to make a statement, I would consider it. Like, that's a powerful thing to do. So to me, I respect Shannon for it. I think it was exactly what the doctor ordered, if I'm being honest. I think it's what you should have done. And frankly, I agree with what you just said a minute ago. Like, they should have had Skip not do the show, right? But what they should have done is had Shannon and then, another man of color on that set talking about this incident, just like
ESPN,
the 4-letter Death Star.
But this
ESPN.
is the issue. This is why ESPN is so damn good at what they do. That you have a situation where you had Ryan Clark on the air last night with Scott Van Pelt. Ryan almost died from football injuries, knows all about this. He was on ESPN last night with Scott Van Pelt, and it was compelling and amazing. You're watching Joe Buck and Troy Aikman as this unfolded. They were amazing. They throw back to the studio with Booger McFarland, Susie Kolber, and Adam Schefter. They were amazing. They handled it perfectly.
And you know the thing about Buck and Aikman that really struck me last night? They'd have never been in that position if ESPN hadn't done what it did in the offseason, going and getting them, right?
Yeah.
This is the brilliance of ESPN because ESPN understands they had to make Monday Night Football a bigger deal. It had lost its bravado, its mojo, as Witt said, right? It had lost that X factor that made it Monday Night Football, that made it a big deal in our country because they didn't have talent, right? The John Gruden emails came out, right? Like, you had these other guys that just didn't have, like, with all due respect to Booger, because I agree, hell of a job last night, incredible work. He wasn't a great fit for Monday Night Football, and there are few who are. So the idea that ESPN recognized that, went and got the right talent, now is paying dividends for them when someone almost dies on a football field and you need a true professional in Joe Buck and Troy Aikman to handle the situation.
Yeah.
Like, that's why ESPN is over here and Fox and everybody else is way the hell over here. That's the difference.
Yeah, and I think that ESPN has been guilty of a lot of things. ESPN has made a lot of mistakes. They're not having a guy tweet something like this and piss off the entire country. It wasn't just a couple of guys, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't, just one or two guys that said, Skip, you're wrong for this. It was everybody.
Yeah.
It was famous people. It was nobodies on Twitter. The visceral, angry reaction to this tweet was remarkable. And the fact that Fox Sports allowed Skip Bayless to work today tells you exactly why they're not ESPN. And it tells you exactly why Skip Bayless is no longer at ESPN, even though there were thoughts that he might come back or whatever. This is one of those moments where if Fox terminates Skip Bayless, he never works again.
You notice Jim Rome didn't tweet something like that, right? You notice that? You ever take a second, you're like, what did another prominent... Because if you take a second and you think about what are the prominent, and this really matters to me personally, what are the prominent male-hosted shows who are white? because white male-hosted show is different than black male-hosted show. That's the fact of the entertainment industry. ESPN knows this damn well, which is why, again, you have Stephen A. on right now, as he is every day on First Take. That's why they made that change, right? That's why they've gone to, hey, we need to find more balance and ethnicities on our network. We need to do that. So ESPN really understands this. You notice that Skip Bayless is basically a man on an island, the only one that is saying anything like this. That's why I'm saying, dude, like, for all the people earlier in the show, and I'm sure we're still getting some comments about it, for all you people out there who are like, oh, well, Skip was saying that the game is relevant. No, that's not what he was saying, dude. Not what he was saying. No. Go back and read the tweet. There's a reason people are pissed. Like, I just couldn't believe that Skip had the balls to tweet that, then issue an apology on Twitter, only to realize that wasn't good enough. So now you got to start your show alone by apologizing, which, again, should not be good enough. The dude should be fired on the spot.
And how difficult is it to do what Jim Rome did last night? This is what Jim Rome tweeted last night. Pray for Damar Hamlin and his family. Absolutely, this game should be canceled. This game does not matter.
So what did Jim do here? And he does this really well. I know that Jim is not for everybody. I personally like Jim. I like his style. I have a lot of fun listening to it.
But full disclosure, I used to work for Jim, so...
Yeah, like, you know, it's no secret. We like Jim's show, right? But at the same time, let's take that out of it and just look at the tweet-for-tweet comparison. Notice how clear this is, right? You can read this and you're like, okay, cool. So he's saying the game doesn't matter. Thoughts and prayers. This game should be canceled. Pretty straightforward, easy to read. You go over to Skip's tweet and what do you get? I get a bunch of gray area here. No doubt the NFL is considering postponing the rest of this game, but how? This late in the season, a game of this magnitude is crucial to the regular season outcome, ... which suddenly seems so irrelevant.
Now, I also want you to look at the bottom. 113.2 million views. 74,000 quote tweets. 37,000 likes. 3,829 retweets. Then you go and you look at Jim Rome's tweet, right? And you notice 376,000 views. 3,837 likes. What did Skip Bayless get out of this tweet that Jim Rome did not? A hell of a lot more attention.
Yep. And not attention that he wants.
Maybe he does want it. Maybe he does.
Maybe he does. Maybe Fox wants it too.
Yeah, because he got 113.2 million views off that tweet. I think that's probably not a bad thing in Skip Bayless's mind. And I'm telling you, it's a tragically bad thing.
And that's what I'm saying. Fox should be held responsible for this. If you, and again, I'm guilty of watching football on Fox. I've watched Undisputed one time in my life for about 5 minutes, and I was done with it. But we all are forced to watch NFL Sunday on Fox. Like, that's what it is.
Yep.
And this is not Fox's first time having issues.
But isn't this the issue with Fox Sports 1?
Yeah.
And if you look at the big Fox Network, Simpsons, like totally different deal. Fox Sports has always struggled to get over. Again, I worked with Jim Rome at Fox Sports. I can tell you it was always a struggle. We would get the biggest guests on Jim's show, and the numbers would always struggle. He went to ESPN and did a show called Rome is Burning. He would do no guests and have bigger numbers than they had at Fox.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is Fox feels awkward. It always has felt forced as a brand. And for my money, it's guys like Skip. It's guys like, you know, his unrivaled or whatever it's called. Undisputed, thank you. That's why they suck. Because you're paying Skip Bayless to get you this kind of notoriety. Is this really the notoriety you want? If you do not terminate him for this, this is the notoriety you want.
Yes.
This is the notoriety you get. That's the bottom line. And it's no different than any other sector of life. Like Elon Musk losing $200 billion, the first man ever to lose $200 billion. Because you make decisions. They have good and they have bad. Fox made a bad decision allowing Skip Bayless on television today. Right? There's no other way to spin that. There's no other way to look at the fact that Shannon Sharp didn't show up to be on their show today, that he co-hosts with Skip Bayless every day. There's only one conclusion to draw. Shannon Sharp doesn't want to work with Skip Bayless anymore.
Yeah.
He just doesn't. And can you blame him for that? I can. And I can tell you as somebody that has worked at the national, the local level, like I've done this for over 30 years. It's really hard to do this job every day. And I'm not telling you that I have a bad life. I'm not saying this is not an easy flip a switch and let's talk sports. There's a lot of work that goes into this. When you see a guy like Skip Bayless tweet like that, I'm telling you again, that's a lack of preparation. That's a lack of understanding. That's a lack of empathy. We argue almost every morning in our pre-show meeting that we have about our topics, right? We argue almost every day about, well, what is our viewer going to want to talk about today? They're going to want to talk about Damar Hamlin today. They're going to want to talk Utah football. They're going to want to talk Donnie scoring 71.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not. This job is difficult. And then when you throw a guy like Skip Bayless on top of it and making it more difficult, it's absolutely tragic.
Mm-hmm.
That Skip Bayless is making tens of millions of dollars to be a jackass on Twitter.
How about that?
Like, do you understand that? He's making millions. Fox pays him for that. And that's why I ask, like, does this even resonate with you? Does
Meaning
this
what?
even resonate for you? Like, is this a big deal, what Skip tweeted? I think it is.
think it's a huge deal. I think that we have this conundrum in our country of what people actually watch and consume. So, like, what I mean is how, like, the impact of what somebody says is different for each individual person. So, like, for us on this show, we're in sports. It's our entire life. Like, spent all day Saturday watching college football, right? Like, that's the level of preparation it takes to do a show and to be able to be successful at it. You have to be committed, right? So I'm going to know who Skip Bayless is. I'm going to see that tweet. And not only am I going to see that tweet, I'm going to see that tweet while Ryan Clark's on ESPN talking about this. And it's really emotional and it's really insensitive. So, like, I'm going to see that, and that's going to impact me a lot. But if we step back and we look at, hey, some guy in Lincoln, Nebraska who is a blue-collar person just working every day and just wants to come home and have a beer and watch a football game, they're probably not going to give a damn about what Skip Bayless is saying. So for me, it's a big deal, but I don't know that for the 113 million people who saw that tweet, is it a big deal for even half of those people? Mm-hmm. And if it is, that's still a lot of people. That's the problem.
I mean, you look at some of the response, like Terrell Owens, the former Dallas Cowboy NFL wide receiver, out and openly called for him to be terminated. And people retweeted that Terrell Owens tweet repeatedly. And let me see if I can grab that while you smash the like button, because let's be honest, we've had well over 1,000 people watch this show. It would be great if you guys would smash the like button. It helps the channel grow. It is really interesting when something like this tweet, and this is why I always say being viral isn't fantastic, but you look at this tweet from Terrell Owens, and I don't agree with T.O. very often. I've had the great fortune of being around him quite a bit. He's a difficult dude to deal with. I actually retweeted this and was like, damn, T.O. speaks for me. And I don't know that I could say that T.O. speaks for me very often, but if you look at this tweet, he said, "You're despicable," talking to Skip Bayless. "You're despicable. I hope to God you lose your job for this tweet. You really think this game holds more weight than this young man's life? Dude, you're dead wrong for this."
Facts.
You're dead wrong for this.
And I want to keep pointing this out, right? Notice how clean cut Jim Rome's tweet was, T.O.'s tweet was. And then you look at Skip's, and it's like you're talking kind of in circles, and you're making an ass of yourself because you're not. Dude, there's nothing more important than dude's life. That's it. There's no. There's no beating around the bush. There's no talking about week 27 on the NFL calendar. Like, it's this kid's life, dude.
Yep.
So when I see guys that I listen to like Jim tweet this, I'm like, good job, Jim. You get it. Right? You understand. Oh, Skip, you don't get it, dude. You don't understand, and you should be fired for this.
Yeah, and then T.O. goes at it and gets 3.5 million views on it. And yet still today, he shows up for work. So let me get a couple of comments in here because
Damn.
I do want to get to Donovan Mitchell last night. Talking with Raphael podcast on PBS. Says it's a big deal. I agree it's a big deal. BB says Elon Musk, he opened free speech from the... Oh, stop. Dude, left hate. Get out of here with that. It drives me crazy that we can't have open discussions without, the left haters.
And Elon. This has nothing to do with Elon
But
and the left.
the point I made about Elon was Elon Musk made a decision in business to buy Twitter, and it cost him $200 billion in wealth.
And this has nothing to do with Skip Bayless, in my opinion.
And when the decisions you make about your brand, I think are massive. And I think when you look at Skip's brand as maybe it wasn't damaged. I'm naive. This damaged his brand.
There's
There's no
bro.
way this didn't damage his brand. And that's why I say when you look at business and sports, they run very close together. So a guy like Elon, for example, a guy like Jerry Jones, for example, guys, owners, Bob Kraft is the only guy I've seen get into a sex scandal and not hurt his bottom line at all whatsoever. Right? The NFL is just different, in my opinion. But you look at what Skip Bayless did here, and I think it hurts his brand. I really think it hurts his brand. Keith Carl says, watching Skip right now, and the awkwardness in doing is real. He's trying to carry on a normal show, but it's so awkward and nerve-wracking. I think he knows that. It's all deserved, too.
You know what I also have a problem with? I also have a problem with the fact that a guy like Colin Cowherd, who's also on Fox,
Yes.
didn't tweet about this.
At all. Didn't say two words about it.
That is unacceptable. And I'm not going to sit here and say the guy should be fired for not tweeting, because he shouldn't be.
But you
have a responsibility.
Yeah, you're a national voice. You have to tweet about this. And again, I will say, this is what Twitter's about.
Yeah.
Where we come together and everybody shares their opinion, good or bad. Like last night was amazing on Twitter. Colin Cowherd needs to have an opinion on it. He does. He is the leading voice at Fox. By far. Colin Cowherd is the leading voice at Fox. And he didn't say two words about it. That's amazing to me. Jeremy Bolton, what's up? The mayor of Monty Town. Eric and Raleigh says the sports world will be a better place when Skip Bayless is no longer in it.
Agreed.
Tanner Plummer says the sad thing is that Skip will probably not get fired because FS1 only cares about ratings and views, and they're not getting them. They're not getting them.
That's the fun. That's like the hypocrisy in it. They're not getting views on that show. He gets 113 million, I think it was, views on that tweet for all the wrong reasons. That's the problem, dude.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to me that when you look at their numbers, they routinely are less than 200,000 views per show, which is, how is that possible? Like you look at their core demos are like 100,000 people per show. And you just can't compete with that. You just cannot live on that. And yet they're paying Skip Bayless millions of dollars to do that. Mm-hmm. And I think when you look at the ratings on First Take on ESPN, they're at 507,000 people per show.
You know why
you're doing less than half of that?
You know why that is? Because you can have ESPN on the tube right here, right? On mute. And there's three respectable voices, right? Stephen A., Herm, and can't remember dude's name off the top of my head.
Marcus Spears.
Know his face. Marcus Spears. I know his face, love his takes. Three respectable voices. And that's the thing. I don't think, Fox Sports 1 when news is breaking. I think ESPN.
Yeah. That's
just the reality of the situation. So when Skip comes out and does this type of thing, it furthers the narrative. I don't need Fox. You just happen to be the one that lets me watch Aaron Rodgers lose to the Lions on Sunday and go home, right? That's what it is.
Yep. Justin Salas, good morning to you, friend. He says, getting used to the show being on earlier now that I am in the mountain time zone.
Let's go.
Time to set the alarm clock, bro. Yes. By the way, Justin, I think, moved here from Texas. So he was central. Now he's mountain time.
Justin, were you in the transfer portal, bro?
Yeah. How'd the transfer portal process work out? Talking with Raphael. You got to be lower. Talking with Raphael podcast
on BYU Radio.
Says maybe it's a strategy for Colin not to talk about it until Fox Sports does something about him. Yeah, that could absolutely be.
And that's why I'm saying when you start to look at the bigger picture, you start to kind of look at, hey, they haven't fired Skip, but Colin didn't tweet about it. It starts to kind of, and again, it's speculation, right? Speculation, like we have no proof, speculation, but it does kind of start to paint the picture. Hey, Skip, tweet some asinine stuff so we can get some run and people will tune in. And then Colin, don't tweet about it, but you're going to give us the clean-cut take on your show that's respectable and that people want to hear. Like, that's what it suggests.
I don't disagree with that at all. I don't
know.
I think it's very interesting. Let's see. Kyle A says Colin Cowherd is Skip's friend and is the one who wanted Skip to jump to Fox. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Zachary Thornton says, what NFL are you watching, Jake?
What do you mean?
Yeah, what specifically, what do you mean? The eye patch says Skip wants notoriety. That's his thing. That's always been his thing.
Don't disagree.
Don't disagree with that at all. Kyle says, for me, I don't like to see two men arguing with each other. That show is super annoying.
Yeah.
I would agree. No one watches FS1 for anything but actual sports, and even that's pushing it. They can't compete with ESPN. I agree with that. Eye patch says, and here we are talking about him instead of talking about Utah football. Yeah.
Well, we already talked about Utah football.
We did. You can't really say Stephen A. is respectable. He has some very controversial things in his past. Well, and Lewis, I don't disagree with that, but I think the thing that you've seen, ESPN changed its business model. And ESPN, I thought, after all of the Kaepernick, politics, Trump, Black Lives Matter, that whole haze, you don't see them talking politics very often.
No.
And I think what you see in Stephen A. is Stephen A.'s gotten exposed for some really uninformed opinions. Like, hey, this guy retired 7 years ago. Man, did you see this guy make a tackle last night? Like, he does that routinely.
Yeah. But that's different than, like, I just want to draw the line here. I don't disagree, but that's different than what Skip's doing.
Yes,
right? So, like,
totally.
if you don't respect Stephen A. because he has uneducated takes, totally cool with that. That's fine. Like, that's the essence of sports talk. But we're talking about a dude dying on the field for 16 minutes last night, and Skip wants to come out and have this take. That's just not, that's crossing the line, dude.
Yep, I agree. Neville says it's just crazy what people do just to get views on anything now. What's everything coming down to? Yeah, it is, because now in the streaming world, and we deal with this on a daily basis, like the like button on the show today, like it really helps the show when we get 100+ likes per show when it's live, right? So because what happens is when you guys hit a like button, YouTube pushes that out more. They recommend our content. When somebody searches Utah Jazz, they'll recommend the Monty Show, right? So when you guys hit the like button, that's huge. So we've had well over 1,000 views today. We only have 82 likes. So we would love it if you guys had hit the like button.
Yeah, we don't want you hitting the like button because we like it to say 100. Like, think of every time you hit the like button, you're pinging YouTube and telling them to show the show to more people. That's truly what it does. And so for us, and this is why I think the Skip thing is just so fascinating when you really look at it from a business sense.
Yeah.
Is that the notoriety you're getting out of the Skip Bayless tweet is not good.
No.
It is not good.
Not at all.
And I can't possibly be the only one who's wondering what Fox is going to do about this.
And I believe from my experience with Stephen A., he is a heartfelt person. Skip Bayless is just a dick. Like, he doesn't care about humans. Stephen A. Smith cares about humanity. I don't like Stephen A. I don't watch him. I can't. The whole screaming thing really turns me off.
Screaming A. Smith.
But he is at his essence, he is a good guy.
Yeah.
That's not
Which
even
matters,
arguable.
Dude.
Like, it's just, it does matter. BB says Skip wants the game to be played, so he should be fired. Most supporters of the Bills players didn't even know his name. What are you talking about? This is the thing that makes me crazy. Damar Hamlin has played the third most snaps on the Bills.
Yeah.
He is one of their most improved players, and yet, BB, you're going to show up today and say most of the Bills players don't even know his name.
Every Bills player knows his name and cares about him.
Like, what are you talking about? And you think fans don't know who that is? Like, how do you watch a football team and not know who your starting safety is? I don't know what your grind is with this whole thing, BB, but you're a man on an island. You're the only one who thinks Skip Bayless's tweet was fine last night. You are truly the only one.
Yeah.
Jeremy Bolton says, I think I know what Skip was trying to say in his initial tweet. He just said it poorly. The last 5 words of his tweet is what I think he was trying to get across. Let's see. He said, and he apologized and clarified. He has apologized 100 times now. The last 5 words, which suddenly seem so irrelevant. If this isn't what he meant to say, what he explained was he was trying to say, hey, this game's really important, and now it doesn't seem important at all. Well, then why didn't you say that?
Right.
Why did you go round
Jim's
and round?
Show Jim's tweet, because this is exactly the point I'm making. Look at how clean cut this tweet is. There's no, hey, this is what I was trying to say, or this is what I meant to say. There's none of that. You come here and it's like, wait, what did you just say?
The issue is you can't go into how important the game is. He died on the field.
Literally.
He died. His heart stopped on the field. And you're worried about this late season game of magnitude is crucial to the regular season. Who cares? Who cares? If the Bills not play another game the entire season, who cares? Because I don't.
Yeah.
Naturally, they are going to move on. There's going to come a point where we're all going to look at Damar Hamlin and say, oh, man, remember 5 years ago when Damar Hamlin had that thing in Cincinnati? Right? Like, Ryan, one of the things that came out last night was all of the major incidents that have happened on the field in Cincinnati. The Antonio Brown hit where he got knocked out. Ryan Shazier, when he made that hit and basically went through a period of paralysis.
Yeah.
Right? And those are the kind of things that are like, oh, yeah, does anybody even think about Ryan Shazier anymore? Hopefully, that's what's happening with Damar Hamlin, because he'll recover. He'll have a normal life where he can, thrive as a human being. But do you really care at this point if Damar Hamlin ever plays another game? Because I got news for you, I don't. I do not. I could not care less if he plays another game. Yeah. All I care about is that the guy doesn't die because he played football. I hope the guy doesn't die. That's where our focus should be. And this tweet from Skip was not worrying about whether he was living or dying.
Exactly.
That's my point. Yet you look at Jim Rome, and Romey's out there with exactly the right take. Hey, pray for Hamlin. Pray for his family. This game should be canceled. The game does not matter.
Facts.
It's not rocket science.
And it's not difficult.
And much to the mayor's point here, if we have to decipher what you meant.
Exactly.
A guy died on the field. We can't have to decipher your tweet about it.
Facts.
We can't. You can't. And by the way, the minute you go with, wow, this game's really important, yeah, you're dead. You're done.
It's over.
What are you talking about?
That's it, Skippy.
You know what I mean? Steve Moser says when to reschedule the game is a midweek topic, not an immediate in-the-moment topic. Exactly right.
Facts.
There's going to come a point in time where we need to have a conversation about what are you going to do with the Bills and Bengals game? And what impact does the Bills and Bengals game potentially having to be played at X date or X time? There's going to be a time for that. This is not that time. This is not that time.
Yeah.
It's just not that time. It's just, man, it's tough, dude. It's absolutely tough. All right, couple more, then we need to get to Donnie dropping 71. Richard McDonald says, like people not knowing him would make his life any less important. That's what I'm saying. Like, who cares? How many fans or his team, you really think his teammates don't know who he is?
Let's get Shannon Sharp's tweet too. Just to prove a point here. You go to Shannon Sharp's Twitter. And what's really interesting to me is dude doesn't show up for work today. And what's also really interesting to me is his last tweet was 12 hours ago, right? Where's 12 hours ago put us?
8:32 last night. Right in the middle of it.
Right in the middle of it, wasn't it? Right? And so what's funny is dude doesn't show up to work today, hasn't tweeted, has done nothing on his Twitter profile, has gone totally silent. But he said everything he needs to say, hasn't he? right? By not showing up for work, by not wanting to do the show. With Skip today, he said everything he needs to say.
Yeah, there is Shannon Sharp's tweet. Please keep Damar Hamlin and his family in your thoughts and prayers. The NFL doesn't have a manual on how to proceed after an incident like this.
Perfect. That's fine. That works perfectly. I would even say, good job, dude. That's a as someone who is a former player, like knows the NFL, like that's fine.
But notice his tweet got 4.9 million views. Skip Bayless in his tweet, let me drop that comment. Look at the difference. 113.2 million views.
Mm-hmm.
But the guy who did it right gets 4.9 million.
Yep.
The guy who did it right gets 376,000. That's the problem.
Yes.
And it got so many more views because people were so pissed about it.
Yeah.
That's the difference. That is the difference, you know. Jaron Eccles says, yet another rich white guy thinking he can say whatever he wants without repercussions. What a disgrace.
I totally agree with that. Frankly, I agree with that.
Brent Terry says, I think it was a Tulane game. Dude was paralyzed and going for a master's degree in molecular biology.
Yes, it was. They showed him. Yes, it was.
Yeah, it was Tulane.
It was Tulane.
It was Tulane.
Yep.
Yeah, he is paralyzed. He's in a chair. He's got a C4 from the neck down, and he got his degree. Yeah, absolutely. Shannon seems to be a class act even before this issue, Lewis says. Shannon is a try-hard guy. Shannon Sharp is not a natural speaker. He's not a gifted presenter. He's not somebody who went off the football field and immediately went into television.
It's not Dan Orlovsky, bro.
Yeah,
it's not that easy.
Shannon's had to work to understand the art of delivering a take.
Which, again, I respect the hell out of him for, because, again, didn't show up to work today very intentionally. And when you get to this point in your career and you wind the clocks back to playing in the league and doing what you did, and then, as you just said, like coming into this industry and having to work so hard to get good, like the fact that he's at a point where he has the power now to not show up and to improve that point is just incredibly impressive.
Yep.